the Warrenton Board of Aldermen meeting for Tuesday, July 7, 2020. If you would, please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next item will be the consent agenda.
We have the regular meeting minutes from June 16th, 2020.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Who did you get, Melody, for second? Motion made by Alderman Delloy, seconded by Alderman Dyer. Roll call vote.
Alderman Delloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Next will be hearing from the public. We ask that you come to the podium, state your name. We'll give you 5 minutes to speak. Not see anybody, we'll move on. Next will be the Board of Aldermen comments.
All right, now can you guys hear us? Hey, can you guys hear us now? Yes. All right. Yes, it didn't work like I thought it would.
Little technical difficulties.
Yes, mute your microphone now.
I'm sorry, folks. Next will be Board of Aldermen comments. If anybody would like to make a comment.
I would just like to say I understand from the chief that 4th of July went off without a hitch. There were almost no problems at all, so thanks to the residents of the city that no issues. So that's always good to see. So that's all I have.
Else? I'll springboard off that and say I agree. It was loud at times, but
Yes.
I spent a little time out on Highway U with some family, and driving in, I'll tell you, it was beautiful to see all the fireworks going off all over the locations throughout the city. Whether it was bothersome to some people or not, it was a beautiful sight to see. Also, I'd like to state that, especially this week, we're getting some record highs again, or close to it, especially with the heat index. Be careful, folks. Stay hydrated, stay inside, stay cool if you can. If you can't, let somebody know and see if we can assist or someone can assist in some way.
Check on your neighbors.
Yes, please check on your neighbors. All right. Next will be the street closing for a festival. Is that correct? Maria, if you'd like to come forward.
Okay, bear with me. Maria Bayer, Papa's Cuban Cafe. Not good at speaking, but anyway, I have a few questions. Why does it say on the agenda that the Warrenton Downtown Association may have some say over approving downtown events? The event that I'm planning has nothing to do with the Downtown Association. The people in the association are not elected or appointed employees of the city and should have no influence over city policies, especially over an event that is being planned by someone who is not a member of the association. My question to the aldermen is, if you believe there was some problem or issue regarding the planning of downtown events or street closures, why was it not addressed in a prior bill as of before today? Obviously, these changes that are allegedly proposed but have actually decided upon already are in response to the event that I have submitted and planned to the city already. Why are you seeking a change now of the rules? That's one of my questions. I do have another one, so I'll do one at a time so we don't get all confused.
Okay.
Well, I'll answer this. I don't know anything about your event or anything about what's going on, but we use public input in a number of areas in the city, whether it's volunteers in the park board, whether it's people volunteering for the tourist commission, and those are all advisory. They don't have any authority under the ordinance to stop or start or do anything. They simply make recommendations to the council. So there is no authority within any of those positions as it relates to the ordinance and policy. That's my answer.
Anybody else?
Well, I think that I would like to just address the comment, Maria, that you made with regards to this is in response to your event. I mean, I'd like to think that I'm that good of an attorney that, I could crank something like this out that quickly. It's pretty significant. It's actually the culmination of, really, Bob, when you came and started our partnership with the Missouri Main Street, and we made the commitment to downtown, and the WDA is our representative in the Missouri Main Street program. It was one of the things we've had on that we've looked at, and, when you have events downtown, if you look at the history of our events, what is in the ordinance, which I assume is what you're talking about, is really a culmination of every single experience we've ever had, because the reality of it is, whether it was Catch the Glow or the downtown, the fall festival, we become the ones that have to do the heavy lifting for that event. Our department heads volunteer. We use our community service program to clean up. We negotiated in our trash agreement, the trash pickup. That's a huge burden. We have police here, we've had ambulance here, we've had stations here for that. So part of it is as we kind of take that burden off the city of always being the heavy lifter on the festivals, is codifying in the ordinance, so it is black and white, it is clear to people that want to have festivals what is required. So I think there's a twofold answer. Is number one, we partner with WDA for the downtown. This is part of partnering with WDA for the downtown, is this ordinance, is to get their input, because I don't know if, one of the things you have to understand, Maria, we have to look out for all of downtown, not just one business owner. We close for a parade or a run or for an event. There are people in the downtown business that complain because their business is not a business that is cohesive with that festival. They don't want to lose their Saturday morning business or their weekend business, which is their biggest business. So there's always a balance. So what we've drafted here is try to put the requirements and the burdens that is on us as a city, so somebody that wants to be a sponsor of an event knows up front, hey, you have to address all these things because these issues are going to come up based on our experience, because it's not a city event. And number two is kind of furthering that partnership with the Missouri Main Street program, and WDA is essentially taking the responsibility and burden off us for managing the downtown events, and collaborating with the downtown association, as opposed to just carrying that burden all of ourselves.
I understand that, but why now all of a sudden this comes up? And for instance, I support the WBA. I do. I go to their meetings. I'm not a part of it, okay? But I still support them. But at the same time, this is something I'm doing for myself. You're going to tell me that in 2 days from the time that I submitted my application, all of a sudden, one of you aldermen, because it has to be an alderman, unless if anybody else has done this, I want to know. If it's you, if you came up with this, I want to know.
Do you think I wrote that?
No, I'm asking you, which one of you came up with it? Which one of you is in support, as far as an alderman, for this? I want to know.
It's just a proposed ordinance, and with the Downtown Association, Bob, we made a commitment to look at property maintenance. We did that, a year ago, to enhance the property maintenance in the Downtown Business Association, because, the downtown businesses wanted a higher standard in the buildings. We addressed that. We addressed it's incremental. So we addressed the sidewalks, which were one of the big issues. Immediately before that, the street trees. Now we're addressing the design concept with the Missouri Main Street. We are always working on these things, and I mean, I know it may be hard for you to believe this, but it is purely coincidental, because that is our experiences collaborative with hosting, events downtown. That's not something we came up with in 2 days and rolled out in response, because it's, as you said, you want to have an event, but we have a commitment to all of downtown to make sure that events don't have a negative impact on all of the other downtown businesses.
Okay, I want to know which alderman basically sponsored this 2420220.
Well, it's not a sponsored bill. Basically, what it was when we set the priorities with Warrenton Downtown Association, we have the meetings with them. I think there's probably going to be a report back tonight about the meetings, about the outdoor seating and whatnot. I mean, it's just a process.
Yes,
you
but
know?
that's with
and so
them.
this is how we work is, you know, the board and the mayor gives us a task and say, we want to partner with them, we want to work with them. We identify the issues with downtown, sidewalks, you know, outdoor seating, whatever it is, street trees, and then we work on those as a staff
Okay.
to put together solutions and propose them. It's just a proposal.
Okay, so let me ask you another question. When we had that protest down here, did they have to pay $500? Did they have to do a deposit? Did they have to actually do any of this? And
So-
if it's public, right? It's public record.
So that's a First Amendment issue, and if you look in the ordinance, I can give you the page numbers. They're accepted out of that ordinance.
So they're okay to do whatever they want, even
Well-
though they could have damaged our businesses. They could have. You can't say they wouldn't have because we don't know.
Well,
And thank God it was
We
peaceful.
do know, Maria, because they didn't damage your business.
I
correct?
understand that, but
So
there
we
was a
do know.
chance.
Okay, there is a chance, but the deposit is for the cleanup of the fall. Hold on, let me finish. So we did not originally have a deposit except for when we had an event downtown and it wasn't cleaned up and city staff had to call in overtime and extra hours to come in and clean it up. That deposit has been part of our event, you know, special event permits for years and years since that experience. So we incorporated that in there. But if you look at that closely, yes, we have to abide by the First Amendment. There is a specific carve-out for the First Amendment for those particular events.
I just feel that you're putting a lot of pressure on them to have a say whether they say, oh yeah, we approve this, or yes, excuse me, let me reword this. We recommend that she can have an event. Or no, we don't agree with this. That's not very fair if
Well,
I'm trying to do it on my
I
own.
think it's a little bit more detailed than that. I think what you see is a process where we are having street festivals, which I think you'd agree, Maria, if you have a street festival that's only for beading, for example, the restaurants and some of the other businesses or the other retail businesses may not be, you know, included in that participation idea, right? You'd agree with that?
I agree with that,
So,
but
okay,
the
hold
block
on,
that
let
I'm,
me finish. So the concept is since WDA represents it, and we entered into this partnership with Missouri Main Street, is to make it part of a collaborative process with WDA. They don't approve or deny one. They review it from a WDA perspective to provide a recommendation to try to collaborate, because as I said before, every single festival that has happened, the burden is fallen on the city. So if it's going to be more of a collaboration, we want to make sure it's spelled out in black and white. We want to make sure that they have a say and input in how the projects and how these downtown festivals are held.
but that's not how it's worded. But
Well,
okay,
tell me
I get
how
it.
Tell me where that
It
doesn't
just,
say that.
it's not, it's really ironic. You said the other time, Mayor, that, unbeknownst to what everybody says, we don't do things behind anybody's back. I heard that. You know that I've heard it, everybody's heard it, it's been around town. I agree with him on that. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But I'm sorry, it is really ironic that, number one, all of a sudden, I submit an application that you guys said, hey, you can throw a festival if you want, it's just an application. Everybody in town told me, you know what, they're going to make you jump through hoops, there's going to be red tape, there's going to be this. And I'm like, no, they're not. I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt. Next thing I know, this pops up. And all I'm asking is, who wrote it? You keep saying it's a combination of stuff. Who wrote it?
Well, I wrote it, of course.
You
I write all
wrote
the
it. Okay,
ordinance.
so you wrote this, and the aldermen have nothing to do with you writing this. You're just
Absolutely.
you're gonna present this to them.
It's
Well,
my job to write the
well, wait a
ordinance
minute.
for the city.
Hang
Yeah,
on, one at a
we've
time.
talked about for a long time, we've talked about if we're ever going to improve the downtown district, that we need to get a collaboration together with the businesses and the property owners downtown, the people who carry on business. That's been something going on for a long time. And generally what we do is we give direction to the city staff to say, these are the things that we think are important to us. You look at them from a day-to-day perspective and from a legal perspective and come back with a recommendation. So we've been doing that on this for a long time. you could say the timing's goofy, maybe the timing's goofy, but from my perspective, there's no intent. It's part of the process we've been working on. We've been working with Bob and his group for 2 or 3 years trying to figure out how we can fix downtown. So this is just part of the process. It's not geared to anybody.
Yeah, but okay, if you came up with this, usually when you come up with something, Neil comes around with a little paper and has, here, we're doing this. You didn't give this out. I got this on my own. Next thing is, Stacy, did you know that you were being submitted into the Warrenton Downtown Association? You had conversations, but yet you tell Josh that you had nothing to do, you didn't know nothing about it. But it says you didn't know nothing about the bill. I'm just saying, I know you've been talking to the city, but you didn't know nothing about the bill, because that's what you said to Josh.
Who's Josh?
Josh Poe, because she responded to his, he said, he made a comment, and she responded that her exact words were, I don't know anything about the bill you're speaking of, but number 3 is a real reach. And then she goes on the truth about, small business, that he hasn't been to your meetings, and so forth. So, you answered my question of what I needed to know of who wrote the bill. That's really what I wanted more than anything. But
And I'll just say this, Maria, every single thing in there is the planning that takes place, whether it was Catch the Glow, Fall Festival, and the cumulative effect of that. And so, over the last 10 to 15 years, all the festivals have been really city events or city heavily involved. So this is an event that you want to have. To be honest with you, I think it provides you I don't think it changes your application process at all, except for it changes the review. So black and white, you have our experiences to say this is what it takes to have a successful event. So your neighbors aren't mad at you in the downtown business, so that you don't have a safety issue, you don't get bills from entities, somebody gets hurt on there. At our events, we've had fights, we've had arrests, we've had people getting sick, people being taken away in an ambulance, and I'm sure you were going to think all of that, but that is really what this tries to flush out for you. If you this is not a city event, so what are you going to do to address these planning issues that need to happen to shut down a part of Main Street?
the Main Street part that I want to shut down is really right in front of me, okay? And my plan was to have tables out there where people can go either to us, to the bar and grill down the road, to Blue Beach, to whoever, okay? And bring their food, sit down, watch the band, and if we decided to go, well, Bob's going to have wine, because it was going to be a food and wine festival. It was going to be real simple and real small and in that area. Yes, we might get other people. I was ready to hire security guards on top of what the city provides us as far as police officers. I got an external policy on my insurance to cover anything, and trust me, I'm paying for it, anything that I need to cover the city, let alone myself, so the liability falls on me and not on any of you. I've done my homework. I've talked to my insurance agent, I've talked to an attorney, I've talked to everybody I need to talk to. This is what I come down to, and you could decide what you want to do. It's up to you guys.
Right, but from a city perspective, you say, I want to shut down this part. Does that work from a public safety and a ingress-egress perspective?
Well, ask them.
Hold on, because you can shut down a particular part and it can create a bottleneck or create an issue. One of the things we've learned is you don't want to shut down halfway down Main Street because people still turn down the street and people get caught up and backed up and all these other things. That's why we have a written plan. When we do Fall Festival or Catch the Glow, the vendors get locations. That's how mapped out it is. Everything is mapped out.
And I plan to do that.
Yeah.
I plan,
We don't
because I
have
got
a map
vendors.
yet, but this will hopefully provide you the guidance so you can have a successful event.
But I know how to make a successful event. For 30 years, I did nothing but marketing, and I did conferences, and I did big mega events, okay? I'm not worried about that. But I'm saying if it's a police issue, if it's a street issue, let's ask them, is it going to be an issue? Chief, is it going to be an issue? Is it that much of an issue to shut down 2 parts of the street and let people go around for maybe a 3-4 hour event, if that? And it'll be in the evening, so I'm not doing it during the day. I'm doing it in the later part of the evening.
I'll review your submission just like I do everybody else's.
Okay. Because I have not done it yet, but I plan to do a detailed drawing of what it is. But if you're not going to approve this, if you're going to make me go jump through hoops, I won't do it. I'll be honest. I will pull my application. I'll say, screw it. Nothing against anybody. I can go do this at any other town that I want. I've been asked to. If Warrenton don't work with you, come here. We will do it. I'm fine with that. I want to do it in Warrenton because my business is in Warrenton.
But
If-
Maria, nobody's saying you can't do it. The intent of this, if you look at this, is so that it's a collaborative effort with WDA, who's our partner in Missouri Main Street, and the city. So there's a planning process that takes place.
That's fine.
That's
You-
collaborative. That's all this does. It just puts it pen to paper on.
Well, you can plan with them, but I don't want them making the decision on whether I can do this
Well,
or
they're not.
recommend. It says in here, recommendation. They can make the recommendation.
Right. And the board can ignore
No,
that
they can
recommendation.
make a recommendation, but the board makes the final decision.
Makes the only decision.
Marie, I have a question for you. You mentioned earlier that you support the WDA.
Mhm.
Why aren't you a member of WDA?
Because I've been to some of the meetings, and it's nothing personal. I have not been here long enough to see what the WDA has done. To be honest, I haven't. I've seen the Halloween thing and one other event. Okay, I'm a little more not pushy, but I know how to organize. I know how to create events. I know how to make them a success, and I know how to bring people in. Okay, not that you guys don't. I'm just saying I don't like this red tape, black tape type things with the cities. And I know it happens. You're not the only city that does this. I mean, there are other cities that do it too. I just feel that I could throw my own event and I don't need to, because I have my own volunteers. I have everything. Didn't you say, Stacy, when I met with you the other day, you said if you join us, we can work together, right? And make it stronger and get it approved. But then you said at the same time that if you bring it to the table, then you got to be prepared to bring your own support, your own volunteers, your own people, everything. Did you not say that? Because you don't have the manpower. Exactly. And I have all that back. I have that backing. So this is why if I'm going to do it, why am I not going to do it for myself? Well, I mean, and I'll help you. I did say I'll help you in any way I can, did I not? I mean, I will help them, but I don't have to be a part of them. If they want my help, all they have to do is ask.
Well,
But-
the ordinance does not require you to be a member of WDA. This is the commitment that the board could not approve this ordinance or make modifications to it. This is the commitment they made is to, from a city perspective, it's great that you have all that help and everything because, most of the time the cleanup, the burden, the police and all that stuff falls on the city and, that's why there's a deposit and why there's insurance and all those things that are in place.
And I'm
So
not worried about that.
That's
yeah.
great. You don't have to be a member of WDA to get your event approved. It's just trying to further the collaborative effort so that, it's a safe event from the city perspective. It's a successful event and it enhances downtown. That's
Okay.
all that
You know,
it does.
But
we
did
have
you-
been very successful
Who's
for
talking?
several years collaborating with WDA and putting on events, huge events downtown.
Mhm.
Everybody gets something out of that. I'm still a little confused as you support WDA, but you want to be on your own and do things on your own. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Okay, call me a control freak, whatever you want to call me.
Well,
I like to do
I'm not
things on
gonna
my
call
own
you
because it's my
anything, but
responsibility.
I
It's
know
my
what makes this successful
I understand.
downtown, and that's with us working
I understand,
with
but you're not
WDA.
giving me a chance. And honestly, what it looks like, whether you guys want to admit it or not, it looks like all of a sudden this popped up and everybody's talking about it. It's not no hidden secret or anything. It looks like I submitted this and all of a sudden, the WDA is going to be involved in this. And not that that's an issue. It's just the fact that it makes it look like, if they don't approve it, even though you say it doesn't matter because you said you'll take it into consideration, it should be on an individual basis. Just like if I didn't have a restaurant here, but I wanted to come and throw an event here, I don't understand how they got involved. I mean, I don't really have much to say over it. You really did answer the main
Well,
question
and
I
just
wanted.
want to point one thing out, Maria, when we wrote this, there's an appeals process that's in there. So if WDA has an event that is approved and you don't like the event because it doesn't include you, you can appeal it. It's not just for the applicant. We're trying to strike a balance between the downtown as a whole and the WDA and the individual business owners. You represent the individual business owner, they represent the downtown, and it's just trying to strike that balance. We may need to change this. We've never
Okay.
looked at it and said this is the only way to do it. like I said, I wish I could write an ordinance in 2 days, because I think Terry would be a
I'll
lot
hire you.
happier. She would be a lot happier.
I'll hire you
with
to
me
work for me if
If
you
I
did.
could write an ordinance in 2 days, but I've been working on this document for a while, and if you look at the conditions that are in there, every single one of them is based on a prior anecdotal experience that we've had hosting events all the way back to Catch the Glow. And Catch the Glow stopped. We stopped doing it because the burden fell completely on the city, because we were picking up all the labor costs, all the expenses, and it became, people were complaining because, downtown businesses didn't feel we were doing enough, and it was like, well, this is not our event. So, I mean, that's the purpose, is to give you a blueprint to host your event and know what your responsibilities are, because if you're going to host the event, the city's not going to be the ones doing the cleanup. You're going to have to pay the deposit, doing all the things that are required to not only make it successful, but safe as well.
Okay, so I guess my question with that is, and I thought about this beforehand, I think I talked to you, Bob, about it, I don't know. I had mentioned before that, you know what, I talked to my accountant, and I said, what do I need to do a foundation or something? I said, so if I do a foundation, or I do a committee, or I do whatever I need to do separate from myself and my business and what I want to do here, is that going to change the fact?
A foundation like a not-for-profit? Or
No, not
charitable?
non-for-profit, I
Like
forgot.
like a separate
Mhm.
downtown, like a
Yeah, separate downtown, but not the
coexisting
same.
downtown association.
Something totally different, but
Well,
yeah,
I think-
more
I think-
support of the small businesses.
When Bob came in with the Missouri Main Street idea, I think one of the things, I don't want to speak for the board and the mayor, that was persuasive, Maria, was, look, this is us together, and these are the things we want together for the whole downtown. So, I mean, obviously, if you represent the voice of not just one business, but an entirety of the downtown, to say these are the things that we need to do to make downtown better, I would think that, of course, I mean, your voice is heard in the input for, the table issue, for all that input is important to know how do we strike the balance between the individual business owners and the downtown association, which is the downtown as a whole.
Do you guys realize how many people in this community miss the way Warrenton was? Do you even listen? I mean, do you even, and I don't know, because
What do you mean by the
They missed-
Hold on,
wait,
hold on,
can I-
hold on.
please, they miss the trees. They miss the way it used to be. And then all of a sudden, you got trees in front of your place and it looks all pretty. But everything from here up, it's not, other than Bob's places, he makes it look nice. But, my place, I'm tied. My hands are tied, okay, on what I can do to make my place look better. I can't have a flower pot outside. I can't grill outside, even though people grill in front of my place all the time when you have festivals. That's okay. But I want to grill for 2 hours to give the community, our community, Warrenton, free hot dogs and free hot. Okay, and Terry says, no, I got to use the parking lot behind the dentist. And that's ugly, and I'm not going to do that to my customers. I'm listening to the people. I'm not a political person. I don't even like politics. But I'm fighting for the community, for what people come in my restaurant and tell me constantly, the issues that they have with Warrenton. I'm not trying to fight. You know, Mayor, how much I have praised this town.
I get it.
And all I want is the best for the town, but I want to see more people. Now, everybody says all of a sudden there's rumors going around. Oh, she wants this for her. She don't care about us. No. I want the foot traffic for everybody. I'm going to go on the record and say, I want foot traffic so we all succeed. I don't care whether I like somebody or not. That's not the point. The point is I want everybody in Main Street to succeed. I want to see people shopping like they do in St. Charles. When I want to go eat, where do I go, Dave? St. Charles, Old Town. Why do I go to Main Street, St. Charles? Because as soon as you drive in there, oh, how relaxing. And you have a array of restaurants, and you can walk in the shops. People want to come here. I know businesses that want to come here. They do. There's a Greek restaurant that wanted to come here. You know what he said to me? Maria, there's no way I'm going to touch that. I'm going to go to Wentzville. It's easier to work with than here. And I would have loved the Greek restaurant. I think we all would have. I don't understand. I mean, it's just so frustrating to me because I'm
So can I
limited.
ask you a quick question? Does anybody say anything positive to you about Warrenton? Because I posed this question, last person that came up and spoke a lot of negative about the city.
To be honest, Eric, and I'm not gonna lie to you, I have not heard anything positive. As
Shame.
far as how it looks and the amount of people and how they used to come here, and this is the first time they've been back in a long time, but there's nothing to do. Like our block. I'm not talking about everybody else's block. I'm talking about my block, between me, the pawn shop, and H&H Guns, and Brenda Sue, that block. There's nothing pretty about that block, and you can't tell me there isn't. Other than my big fat flamingo out there that I put out every so often. But, it's frustrating because I came here. I chose this over St. Charles. And yes, I know it's more money in St. Charles. But you know what? I would make that in one day. But I chose Warrenton because I love Warrenton. I love the people. I love the community. And I looked at it like at a chance to say, wow, this is up and coming. They took the trees down, but you guys were talking all along about replacing them somehow, right? So,
Still in the works of it.
yeah, but I don't see anything being done. It's just kind of like everybody's talking and talking and talking. In the meantime, why can't we put pots and plants out there? Something to just make it look pretty. I buy balloons and I put them up there just so people can see, hey, there's something there,
So let me pose this question. If I allow you to put a pot of your choice up there, and somebody else chooses to make a pot out of something else, painted something else, what regulation do I have to give them?
That I agree with you. It should be regulated where everything is the same and uniform. If I'm gonna put a pink pot, somebody wants to put a green pot, I'm okay with that only because the colors kind of go with the street. You're brightening up the street. In Miami, on Calle Ocho, you got big old chickens. There's big old chickens on every block. I think that's really cool. I got pictures of them in my thing. I'm not trying to fight with you guys. I'm trying to get my customers to get what they want, and these are citizens, and I'm always saying, I'm always supportive of you guys. Whether you believe it or not, and I don't care what the rumors say, I'm always supportive. I praise you. I praise the city a lot, but at the same time, how did you disagree with something that everybody's telling you the same thing about?
But that's the thing, though. Is I'm going to go ahead and tackle that, and I'm going to take it on the chin on this one, I'm sure, on Facebook through some people you've already mentioned. There's a lot of stirring of things on
Yeah.
Facebook that, you're right, it looks like there's tons of comments. 347 in a town of 7,000 plus. It's not good numbers. So let me tell you, I get what you're saying, that there's some people that disagree with it, but at the same time, there's a lot of people that agree with things we're doing and trying to improve. And we can't improve overnight, but we can take steps in the direction, and sometimes it's a lengthy process to change that.
Okay, but what I'm saying to you, Eric, and everybody here, in the meantime, until you guys decide what you're gonna do and what you're gonna have and whatever you want them to do as far as design, why can't we just put something out there? If you don't like it, then just say, hey, I don't like it. If somebody else does it, or put a note that if anybody's gonna do it, let's do it. Come up with a color. I don't care. It's something that we have to attend to.
But that's what I'm saying, is that we've gone down this path before, and we got challenged right away. That what if I want to put out this? This is my freedom to be able to do that. This is what I need to do. But is it detrimental to the theme that we're trying to go with, which is the Main Street theme and bringing back Main Street versus, let's say somebody wants to put a caterpillar on top of a mushroom with a hookah on the side of their building? How can I say no if I'm allowing some of the regulations if we don't have some type of ordinance set up ahead of time guiding them down the right path of what we want?
I would suggest that you take, and I don't know when the last time you were down in St. Charles was. Go take
Tons of times, but do you know how many years it took to build that up that way?
Right, but they started somewhere, and it started by one pot.
Because
and two, and so forth.
But I'm sure at the same time there are people that are argumentative of why are we having to maintain these buildings in this older fashion. Why can't I put a new modern building in there?
Because they make money.
Well,
People
because
love the old
no, it's
stuff.
because of the regulations instilled on there that said that you will keep it as a historic area.
And it's
then
great
you'll
that they do.
Key to these things. But I mean, I'm not saying you, Maria. What I'm saying is there's people that are always going to oppose what you're trying to do. There are always other people that are going to try and infringe upon things to say, hey, you guys are strangling us. And I understand that, but at the same time, look at the adverse effect. That if we didn't, what would we have? I'm sure there's people in Columbia, Missouri that say there's certain areas they wish they wouldn't have approved because of the context of what they have on their buildings or in their buildings that are not approved for a family-friendly area.
I get that, and there has to be something done. I get that. I get it. But you are strangling us as a business. I'm doing really good. I really do. I mean, I got business that I can handle. But it's not about me. And it's about me wanting even more people so we all can succeed. That's all I'm asking. It's a little bit of leniency, a little bit of something so we can start, while you're making your big decisions on how much money you're going to spend or whatever it is, give us something to work with. Throw us a bone and say, okay, well, maybe we could do this. Yeah, the seating. But I'll be honest with you. You said about the seating, I think on the phone, you were on the phone the other day about being an emergency corona type thing. To be honest, that was the first time I've heard of that. Nobody ever said that to me. I didn't hear it from Neil. I didn't hear it from Terry. I didn't hear it from nobody. And I talked to Neil more than I talked to you, Terry. But, Neil said he was representing you. But again,
Did you see the ordinance?
no, I never had a copy of it. But
Said it was
that was the first time that I heard that it was. I knew it was temporary, but I didn't know it was because of Corona-19. I never heard that, and I want to go on the record saying that because that was a shock to me. I didn't say nothing then because I wanted to make sure that what I was going to say was true, And that's really all. I did answer my question about what I really needed more than anything, but I just wish that you guys would consider something to help us. And it's not just me. There's other businesses, that feel the same way. They've given up. They've given up on the city. They've given up and say, you know what, I'm just doing my own thing. I don't really care anymore.
Well, let me,
Mr. Mayor, I think we have an application in front of us that we need to act on and move forward. So I would make a recommendation that the application be turned over to staff to review the applicant and come back with a recommendation to council. That would be my motion.
motion is on the floor.
Is that my application?
It is.
That's what you're on the
Okay,
agenda
I'm just
for.
asking. That's
Yeah.
fine.
I would second that motion.
Motion made by Alderman Ock, seconded by Alderman Miller. Roll call vote.
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Marie. There again, I don't take anything you said as an argument that we're doing a poor job or what be it. I get that you're voicing your opinion on things, and I appreciate that.
I just want to give my opinion, and
No.
I think that a lot of people maybe don't want to tell you guys, and I'm as honest as they come, so I want to tell you. Maybe you know, maybe you don't know. I don't know. I just
No.
want it out there.
Like I've told you, I appreciate you coming in and voicing it anytime you do.
I appreciate it.
Next, we'll hear from City Administrator Terry Thorne.
My first item for you this evening is to bring back the report regarding the discussion with the WDA about future downtown plans. We did meet a couple days after our last board meeting when we talked about this, and did talk about future plans for downtown as far as everything from aesthetically, what can we do to make it more pleasing, to the tables, to the lighting, to parking, a myriad of items. We decided at that meeting that the best route to go was to have the WDA find a provider through Missouri Main Street Association that would be able to put together a rendering and a concept plan for the downtown area so that we know we're working toward a plan, and a plan that both the board and the WDA agree upon, so that we can plan from a budget standpoint to make sure that we are heading in the right direction. They miraculously came back with a proposal, and it's with Callback Design, a group that, as I said, was recommended to them. I understand they had a conference call with this company and were pleased with that outcome. They're a company out of Maine who has done a great deal of work in downtown areas and many areas that are the same size as the city of Warrenton. That conceptual master plan will include streetscape, parking, crosswalks, landscape areas, seating and furniture, signage, and lighting. So it will cover the myriad of all the things that we've been talking about for so long with making improvements for the downtown area, and to know and have the drawings to say, this is what we want this to look like, this is the agreed upon plan, and will give us direction in how we need to move forward. So tonight, you actually have in the accounts payable the approval for that payment to go out just in support of this contract to the Warrenton Downtown Association. So that's moving forward. The area that they're going to look at is the same area that we identified in our ordinances when we created the Main Street Overlay District. So it will go from Troy Road all the way down to Elm and encompass all the businesses along that route. So anxious to see that. I know it'll be a process to get there, but I think then we will have a firm plan on how we want to move forward. Any questions about that?
I think that's a very good direction to go, our first step. I think rendering will be very helpful in helping us get an idea of the route we need to go.
I know the board's been asking for that for quite some time now, and we just had not got to the point where we're ready for that process. So hopefully this will fulfill that first need. Anything else? Okay, my next item is WDA review of festival events and application. This is what we've been talking about. Chris is going to go over that ordinance with you so that when you get to the ordinance for approval, you're aware of what all is contained in it.
So I will try to be brief since I've already apologize. I will try to be brief since I've already talked about a lot of the things in response to the questions that were raised. As you guys know, we created this downtown historical district and as part of our partnership under the Missouri Main Street to really focus on downtown. One of the first things we did was some of the property improvement plans, and we went through that process working with WDA to improve some of the aesthetics of downtown. The next thing we have looked at are downtown festivals, and I talked a little bit about kind of what we put in here, but also kind of the purpose of striking that balance to hosting festivals where we shut down the street and we have city resources and traffic diverted from downtown businesses because of their close proximity and limited parking. Striking the balance to, have more collaborative efforts in our downtown festivals. So maybe we can expand our downtown festivals from, one a year. I think that's one of the things Bob brought up when we first, discussed these festivals, is having more of them, but also making them successful. I know there was, I think with German Festival we did one year and whatnot, and where we shut down downtown and have these festivals that are put together and these events downtown. So this is only applicable to downtown, which is where we primarily host these types of festivals. Essentially, the permit application is essentially the same as our special events permit, except there are criteria and administrative things that are basically all the collaboration of our experience over the years of having good and bad situations, successful and unsuccessful festivals. And that's from traffic, like I said, shutting, at one point we tried to shut down a little bit down Main Street, and then it became a turnaround issue and people got mad and aggravated. So, traffic management plans, we had the one situation, I think it was Catch the Globe one year, where there was a miscommunication with the ambulance district, and they sent an ambulance and sent us a bill for it, and it was a WDA event. So, what are your plans for safety, hydration, really the issues that we hit, a design? We found that really holding vendors to a specific location avoids the fighting over more favorable locations and picking those randomly and whatnot. So, whether they pick them randomly or they are assigned, that they have that in place so they don't have the tensions that, drain city resources on that particular event. Like I said, safety is the primary thing. We also have included in this, which has been a complaint over the years multiple times about whether it's specific festivals or runs or parades, that we don't want you to close Main Street on Saturdays and Sundays because that's when we're busy. I cut hair and a festival doesn't do me any good, or I sell beads at a bead shop and that doesn't do me any good, or I rent costumes and a festival doesn't do me any good. So kind of the business mitigation effects and making sure that the festivals, when we shut down Main Street, because it is such a proportional event for downtown, that the festivals are essentially including the business interests of as many of the downtown businesses as possible. That's kind of the criteria. It's pretty much a more strongly articulated process than our special events permit, which is kind of bare bones, which we will continue to use for parades, continue to use for runs and whatnot, the special event permit. But this kind of extracts that out and really requires the event sponsor to put all the pieces together before it's approved, so that we can make sure that we are not the ones sending extra city resources unless you all decide to implement those resources, because we've had more than enough festivals where we've had to clean up the horse poop or the whatnot, and it wasn't our responsibility to make sure that that's clearly articulated. Also, I think that what's important, we did include in here an appeal section, so if there's say Maria's event is approved, somebody else who's a business that says that's not fair to me, they can appeal it to the Board of Aldermen, so it can be reconsidered by the Board of Aldermen. So we really did try to take our experience, the collaborative approach, the individual voices of the business owners and the downtown association, and really just take our special events permit and put the planning necessities of it in there, so that someone that wants to come in and have an event can have a safe event, a event that is successful, that is inclusive of all downtown, and an event that is well planned out, and an event that, because it's well planned out, does not require an outlay of municipal resources for that particular event. So, as I said before, this is something that has been part of our list with the downtown stuff and has been in the queue. I can answer any questions or concerns about it. Alderman Ock?
Yeah, I guess the question I have, if there's an event that somebody wants to put in the downtown area, but they don't need to incorporate the whole downtown area, is there provision within the ordinance as to how staff would handle that?
There is the ability to have, you don't have to shut down all downtown in order to have a special event. You have to plan it with a map, because like I said, our experience has been, at least when it comes to Main Street and 47, you want it to be extremely visible from the get-go from there, because, you may want to just shut down this part, but it may create a larger traffic issue having less areas shut down. So yes, you can do it, but we're going to apply our practical experience and public safety experience for traffic flow to make sure that it's going to be a successful and safe event. But yes, this doesn't require you to shut down all Main Street. You can shut down just a portion. But we're going to look at it to make sure that traffic can flow safely, and traffic's not going to get in a situation where they don't know where to go.
So my other follow-up question is, the ordinance references a $500 deposit that's refundable for cleanup. So the guidance from the staff on this application that we just approved was that typically you're required to put your $500 in with the application. Is that the same as the cleanup application, or is the cleanup? So that you want the deposit ahead of time?
100%.
100% ahead of time before the application is submitted, but I guess technically that's when you want it.
Yes,
That's not what my motion was, because I didn't catch on the notes, because the applicant, as I understand, has not paid the $500. Is that correct?
Yeah. And basically how we would consider it for a special event, because the amount of time it takes to plan and inform the downtown businesses, that is not considered a complete application until everything is filled out, the design is given, and the deposit is paid. It's not complete until we receive all that, because otherwise, we have to plan, we have to only accept that as a partially received. We don't accept it as a partial, we reject it and say it has to be completed. And just, how long have we been doing the $500 for special events?
It's been at least 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 5 years, and we didn't charge it originally, but it was because we had a lot of cleanup to do one time. We said, we gotta have something in place, so we're not expending municipal citizen resources.
So then my motion that was passed was really inappropriate in the sense that the procedure has always been to receive the $500 application at the dollars at the time of the applicant. So if,
That's correct.
yeah, so that is a violation of the ordinance. So does that mean the motion was inappropriate, or should we
No,
refer back?
I think referring it back to staff to review it for completeness is an appropriate motion, because I think they can work with Maria. I think she indicated today that she's going to get that completed information in there, so I think staff can communicate with her to say I don't think it's an inappropriate motion, because that's where it would go anyway.
Okay, because my intent is if the application comes forward and approved, and we traditionally require the $500, I would expect us to receive the $500.
Yeah, well, it won't be complete for consideration, because your motion, Alderman Ock, was to send it back, review it, and make recommendations.
Right.
So I would imagine if the requirement's not met for the permit, then the recommendation will be to deny it because it's not a complete application.
Which I plan to take care of that and do a rendering of what we have a plan for what I would like.
I don't know if anybody has any other questions about the proposed ordinance or not.
Go back and reiterate, I get that we just freshly talked about this, but that isn't just pertaining, I don't want this to be thought of as this is pertaining strictly to her thing. This is an overall thing from this day forward of what.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, and I probably hit it ad nauseum. You know, when we started the Missouri Main Street program, and that was one of the things Bob did bring up, was having more events downtown instead of just the one big event, having smaller events. I think he's had a couple successful ones, you know, and whatnot is to try to promote that. So that's always been on the queue, and the rendering's the next one, and I can't off the top of my head remember the next thing we have to work on. We did the property maintenance one first because that was the higher priority for the downtown businesses.
Let me ask another question. I don't know if this is a Terry question or your question for you, but what the applicant that was just considered, the recommendation from staff was to put this in place and then follow that as a way to approve that. So I would think if we pass the ordinance tonight, then we have to follow the ordinance. And the recommendation of staff would be to sit down and take this, help with the applicant look at it before it's turned over to the WDA to make a recommendation. Is that how the process will work? Okay.
Are there any questions on this topic?
Is there any questions for the president or the WDA?
Come on,
Come on up.
come to the podium if you would.
Hello, everyone. Everybody knows who I am, I guess.
Go ahead and state your name,
Deerfields
just-
on Main.
Go ahead and, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, you can. Bob Trutkin, Deerfields on Main. I was president for the WDA for 2 years until the bylaws, basically, I couldn't run no more, so basically I had to step down. So I have a couple questions. One is, so in the past, if there was any agenda items that needed to be presented to the board, it always had to be presented at least 2 weeks ahead of time. Right? Is that true?
I don't know.
To be on the agenda. So you could present something a day ahead of time?
Well, we have to publish notice, so we can't alter the agenda without having sufficient notice to the public. Would that be a time restriction?
So what's
It's-
what is the timeline?
24 hours notice is what's required by
Okay.
Missouri law.
So the question is, I was just informed of this bill today. So why wasn't any downtown, because this affects all downtown, why wasn't all the downtown businesses informed of this ahead of time?
Well, I guess I don't know
Because
that
it does affect all the businesses.
Sure, I understand that, but I think, Bob, it's also been something we've been discussing for a period of time, back from when you were WDA president, correct? Is having better festivals, more festivals,
Right.
successful, safe festivals, correct?
right? Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
and so there's been conversations with the current WDA administration about it, so from my perspective, I don't know, I'm surprised you would think that this is a surprise, that we're trying to put this collaborative, because that was really the big push of the Missouri Main Street, but, you know, this really doesn't change if you were doing a special event permit. It doesn't significantly change the process for downtown. I think you've probably had a chance to look at it, and it's really just to try to make sure we're getting more input. A lot of them from the entities that you've pointed out, like WDA and other businesses. You know, that it's trying to be a positive, collaborative thing, not in any attempt to be a negative. And I know, because as Maria asked, I wrote it.
Well, I guess my question is when you present a bill that's going to be voted on that involves the downtown district, let the businesses know before the bill goes to the board.
Well, and I think we did that with the property maintenance, okay? With the stepped up property maintenance, as you said, Neil went out and you described him as walking around with this sheets of paper. We did that with the property maintenance, but I guess from my perspective, this is about street closures. It doesn't affect the daily operations of your business, right?
Well, it could.
Well, it could if you're doing a street festival, but if you do a street festival, you're getting a separate liquor license, you're doing all these things to be a vendor in the street festival. It really affects the city's property. And I think we can absolutely, make sure we reach out to all the business owners and not just work directly with WDA about this bill and about this coming forward, as well.
And that's all I was asking is, let the downtown businesses know something ahead of time. Here's what's coming down the pike. Here's a bill that we're going to present, and most of us already probably know some of the details about it, but not everybody knows all the details. So it's always be forward with everybody instead of blindsiding people on the back end.
Well, I don't think it's fair to say we blindsided.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Some people would think that.
Right.
Because here they caught wind of it today, and here is tonight. And the first time they ever heard of it. So, to them, they got blindsided.
Right.
Okay?
Well, I think, and my point is, Bob, is to the people that are involved with this process like you've been, this is not a surprise.
I understand.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, my next question. So, this bill is, from what I read, is for downtown, for Main Street closures, right?
Correct.
So if I have events in my parking lot on the side of my building, I'm not affected by it, right?
Well,
So if I have,
I'm not
I have my
familiar
grape
enough
stomp?
with your site to know, whether or not that those are public parking spaces, private.
no, it's my private.
Yeah.
My whole side of my building, from the front to the back of my deck, is I own all that. The city does not own any of it.
But the city says they own the sidewalk.
They own the sidewalk. But if I have my grape stomp, or if I have a washer tournament that's on the side of my building, then I don't have to, I'm exempt from this bill.
Well, if you're not closing down the street.
I am not closing down the street.
If you're not
Right.
closing down the street, I don't know why.
Right. I'm putting the question out,
Yeah.
because I don't want to publish these events, and then come back and say, nope, you can't do that.
If it's on your private property, this does not affect
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the intent of, I think we talked about for a long time, the intent of the board is not to tell you how to run your business. Now, when it comes onto city property, then we have to have a say because it's public space.
Right. I
But if you
understand.
have a washer, you have a band in your building, outside your building, that's on your own property. So I don't have any,
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think there's ever been
Tell you how to
any
run your
issue
business.
with
Okay.
any event.
I
you've
just
had,
want to make,
Bob.
The difference difference.
It's a
Bob,
CYA is what it is.
Bob, the difference between what you're describing and what Maria wanted to do, when she wanted to do the barbecue, you're doing it on private property. She wanted to do it on the public property in front of her building. That's the big
So
difference.
nothing says that she couldn't come down to mine
My events at his.
on my side,
On your private
on
property.
my private
that's
property,
yeah, she can do
and
that.
it would be perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
That wouldn't be an
Okay.
issue.
No, I just wanted to put that out there because I'm getting ready to publish my grape stomp and my washer tournament. And I'm gonna do it on the side. And it's not, it's my parking lot, so. Okay.
I think there's no problem with that unless it infringes upon the street next to you.
Nope, it would be fine. That's all I've got. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, let me address your, I mean, this isn't for you, but let me address your comment about not notifying the businesses, and I think you have a valid point. I mean, we have a lot of discussions on ordinances about how do we roll out, how do we, tell people ahead of time what we're thinking. You know, we're talking about maybe dealing with some snow closure issues on the roads. How do we inform the public before we put something in place? So I think, I mean, my impression was when the WDA knows that all the businesses downtown know it, and that's probably naiveness on my part. So from my perspective, I have no problem if we delay action on the motion tonight and reset it on the agenda next meeting so we can, you know, so if there's people in the public we need to more widely spread, like the maintenance thing, I have no problem doing that. That's just my comment, so.
I'm not sure, Alderman, what would change by public input, because in this particular case, the things that are included are related to safety and traffic and those things. And I think it's one thing to have input when you're doing something that you have the ability to manipulate and change. But we all have to remember, this street that we talk about closing does not belong to the city of Warrenton. It is only by the grace of MoDOT that they allow us to make the decision to close the street without having to go to MoDOT to get a permit to close the street. So I think in the discussion, we have to think about the fact that, are we going to forego the safety issues that we've detailed in the ordinance because it's not maybe what is necessarily wanted? I think this is different than the occupancy inspection situation because those are things that directly affected the business, and some of them might have changed and some not. There's nothing in this ordinance as far as what's required of the vendor, the sponsor, that I could see us foregoing even with public input, because it's all about safety.
No, on that point, I agree with you. I was thinking, if you think about it, we're just doing what we've always done before. We're just putting it in an ordinance form. So the things that we're requiring, I think the piece of it that's different is having an advisory body to do that, to help us with that process. That's really the big difference. Everything else is the same. It's just an ordinance form.
Right.
So
there's nothing we
you can
would
see
change.
both sides of it. Yeah, I can see both sides of it.
Even if it were our event, these are all the things that we do
Right.
for the fall festival to make sure we've got all the bases covered.
Right. And I would guess if we were to start up another tourist commission, we wouldn't get public input from the as should we have a tourist commission.
No, because it's only recommendation.
Yeah.
And the board can accept it or change it or completely throw it out, just like we do with tourism.
Yep.
The board does not always agree with the recommendation from the tourism commission.
Right. Okay.
Are there any other comments on this particular topic? Not seeing any, let's move on to operational updates.
We're going to be, this next week, looking at, speaking of festivals, we're going to be looking at the Fall Festival very seriously. I'm not sure where that's going to land because we don't have vendors who are interested in working the Fall Festival. So we don't want to have an unsuccessful fall festival and not have enough vendors to support perhaps the people who come to our fall festival. So we're going to be looking at that this next week, having one last discussion with the band. The bands have canceled all of their events except this one going into the winter. So we will come next meeting with a determination on where that's at. We want to recontact some of our larger vendors and see if maybe they've had a change of heart since we last talked to them, but it is not looking very positive at this point. The band has agreed, if in fact we do cancel, to roll that reservation over to the Fall Festival for next year and go ahead and put us on their calendar. So we'll report on that next meeting and let you know. Other than that, I don't have...
Come at the podium, please.
So when will the decision be made then for the fall festival? Like within the next
We're gonna
2 to
look
3
at it
weeks?
sometime next week. We've let the band know by July 15th, we have to give them a decision or they have to give us a decision. So prior to this next board meeting, we will have a decision made.
Because we're looking at 2 months away, right? So,
We've held off as long as possible because we were hoping that some of the vendors would have a change of heart and decide that yes, they were willing to come. But it sounds like the people who make the circuit of festivals are just canceling all of them.
and the reason I ask is because I plan all my bands and all that
Sure.
accordingly. And I need to be able to plan them all out. And I normally don't plan any band around the fall festival. Well, I need to be able to plan something for that day if it's not going to happen.
But we will know before the next board meeting.
Okay.
So as soon as we know that, we'll be sure to let you know.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Bob.
Other than that, Mayor, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. Next order from City Clerk Melody Rue.
The Tourism Commission met on June 23rd. They had a couple of recommendations. The first one was from the City of Morton for the July 4th fireworks display in the amount of $15,000. And the second one was from Relax Inn for $600 for interstate attraction signs. Both of these are budgeted items, so total amount for the recommendation is $15,600.
Are there any questions on this?
What was the amount you said, fireworks?
$15,000.
15,000.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the tourism recommendation in the amount of $15,600. Motion made by Alderman Dyer, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Motion passes 6-0. Next, we'll hear from Finance Officer, I'm sorry. Melody, was that all?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Next, we'll hear from Finance Officer Dana Velasca.
Good evening. You have before you a list of claims totaling $1,020,367.07. Were there any questions regarding to those items on the list of claims?
Any questions?
I only had one. Terry, how are they coming with the Fiat, with the, good grief, with the easements? Because that's what the Fiat is, right?
I'm sure that's what it is, yes.
That's the $7,000
We
that
got
we
an
have. Do we
update
know?
from that company, and it appears that they are about 50% of the way along. We do believe that there are going to be a couple of pieces of property that we will need to take legal action to obtain. So it's going to be a lengthy process, but we are still within our timeframes that were set aside. So
Good.
they're doing some final negotiations, and the determination will be made in August as to which of those properties we need to go ahead and pursue legally so that we will have the ability to get that done and still stay on our construction schedule.
Is these properties, is this a large amount of
They are
frontage?
large pieces of property,
Large
yes.
pieces.
So what is the time frame, Counselor, so if we were to take action, how long does that take to work through the process?
Well, fortunately, when we began the process before we were able to.
Chris, you need to step up to the mic, please.
I'll roll up to the mic if that's okay, Mayor.
That's fine. Wherever you need to do.
Why don't you step
We could even have the chief push you up there like an old man. It's all right.
Thank you. I appreciate that order, Mayor. I will make sure I carry it with over the next month. We have had big projects that required easements before, and we began the condemnation process, and it did not require us to even file a petition. So I think there will be a percentage of these that we will work out as the negotiations take the next phase. If we have to do condemnation, I think we've got, before the time we file suit, we've got it down. At this point, we're getting pretty good at it, so it's 60 days before we'll file suit. Now, that's a jury trial. Jury trials are not allowable right now. When will jury trials resume? Where will we be in the queue? That could be a delay that could affect if you have some of those that are done. But I would say that it could be a year, depending on when we would fall
How
with
many
regards to.
properties are in this process that we may have to?
I don't know that Terry and I probably know enough that we've done an evaluation of ones we think
There
will
are
work out.
potentially 8.
Okay.
My belief is that of that 8, there will probably be 4 that will need to go to some kind of legal action.
Are there any questions on that? All right.
More questions, Dana.
So I will entertain a motion to approve the accounts payable in the amount of $1,020,367.07.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, seconded by Alderman Dyer. Roll call vote.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Dana, we can move on.
Certainly. So you also have in front of you the financial statement. So these are financials for the period ending May 30th, year-to-date as of May 30th. Just a few highlights of that. You'll notice that general fund revenues are down below budget. Sales tax, thankfully, is doing very well, which is slightly above budget in sales tax. Property tax is right about at budget. So the areas that were a little bit below in would include the court and police revenues. Again, with everything going on, we haven't had court in recent months. Franchise fees or utility gross receipts, they are a little bit low budget, 41,000 below budget this year. While at the same time we have like permits that are above budget, they're about 30,000 above budget in the general fund. So general fund expenses are also a little bit below budget. Of those expenses, the 654 that they're below budget, about half of that, or about 299, is related to personnel expense. So again, vacancies, things like that throughout the year. The balance is just training supplies, things like that, that they're still probably going to spend in that last month this fiscal year. Other things to look at would be the water and sewer fund. Revenues are 332 above budget, primarily related to industrial sales of water and sewer, and then also the connection fees, which again, additional housing this year has increased the connection fees for the year. Expenses for the water and sewer fund, 311,000 below budget, and 99,000 of that related to personnel expenses, where utilities like electric and things, pump repairs are making up the difference. So were there any questions regarding those May financials?
No, my only comment is I think considering what we're going through, for us to have a surplus in general fund, even if you back out the $200,000 loan proceeds of $399,000, it's quite we're quite fortunate as a city, because I'm sure there's other cities who are really struggling financially, but we're on fairly solid ground, that we're not scrambling trying to figure that out. So I'm pleased to see that in the general fund operation. That's tremendous. I think it says a lot of credit to the city crew, the finance department, and how we budget and how we control things. So I think hats off to them.
I agree 100%.
Agreed, yes.
Excellent, excellent. Wonderful to hear. Yes, we are very fortunate. That's true.
Any other questions on the monthly financial?
That's all I had unless there were other questions.
Nope, that's it.
All right, thank you, Dana.
Uh-huh.
Next, we'll hear from the Aquatics Director, Lisa Kramer.
Good evening, everybody. You should have in front of you the monthly report from June. A couple of highlights. Even though we are at a limited capacity at the pool, beginning June 22nd, we started to allow rec swim for members and their guests to come to the pool for an hour-and-a-half time slot. That has helped increase sales of memberships, because you can't come to the pool without a member. We had 31 people take out memberships last month, of which only 7 of them were Renew Active and 3 of them were Silver Sneakers. So we're starting to see new people come to the pool and be able to use it, at least for a little bit of time. And fortunately, we have had, I think, only happy people coming to the pool. There hasn't been any incidences. Everybody's been wearing masks and understanding the policies, and things have gone real smoothly. Does anybody have any questions?
I don't believe so.
I think the thing that's impressive is how the senior pass attendance has jumped up, doubling from May to June. That's quite remarkable. We're still not where we were in January, February, but it's moving in the right direction. I think that's great.
I agree.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Next, we'll hear from the Public Works Director, Guy Jeevers.
Good evening, Mayor and Board. First item I have is the monthly report. We had 164 locates. We had a water leak on 4th Street. We did some asphalt street repair. We did some dirt work by the interchange, clean it up where it got rutted up. We had 2 sewer calls on the city side. Is there any questions on my monthly report?
Any questions?
No.
I don't believe so, Guy.
Okay, next item I have is the milling and paving bids. I'm asking for approval for Mid-River Asphalt for milling and paving for North Morgan Street from Boone Slip to Oak, South Morgan Street from Boone Slip to Walton, Northwest from Boone Slip to Oak, and Warren Street from Vosel to Roy, and the courthouse parking lot for the amount of $105,444.28. Budget amount was $128,000.
Say that amount again, for Mid-Rivers, please.
$105,444.28.
Is it 100 or 400? Well, he may have a different number. Guy, which one is it? Is it 444 or 144?
105,444.28.
Okay, thank you.
Now your bid tab says 105,14428.
Let me look.
While he's looking that up, is the courthouse parking lot the one that's?
It's our courtroom across the road.
Or the city courtroom.
The new city court.
Okay, all right.
Court building. The city annex building is technically.
So it's that property, it's not the lot across the
No,
street?
it's our building across the street.
Okay, all right, I got you.
Guy, were you able to locate that?
Yeah, my bid tab shows 105. Oh, 105,144.28. My bad.
Just wanted to make sure before we go to an approval. So, any other questions about the milling? I'll entertain a motion to award the milling and paving bid to the Mid-Rivers Asphalt in the amount of $105,144.28. The low bid. Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Schultz. Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Next item I have is a change order for CIP pipe repair to SAK Pipeline for the amount of $9,438. This contract was approved during an inspection. They found some other repairs that needed to be done, which they wouldn't have been able to see, so they got into it. So the original contract was $33,306.25, with a change order that revises the contract to $42,744.25. This is coming out of the budget of I&I with a budget amount of $150,000.
Any questions on that? I'll entertain a motion to approve the change order from SAK for the CIP pipe rehab project in the amount of $9,438.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Miller. Roll call vote.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Guy.
Thank you.
So before we get to the bills of ordinance, I just want to say one thing that's been kind of eating at me tonight. I think there was a lot of statements made during this meeting, and I'm just going to say this now. It is sometimes very arduous and difficult for us to make decisions up here, and we do rely a lot on the constituents in our certain wards or in our city. Even though it may have not been fully said, if I felt like the implication was there that sometimes we don't listen to the citizens. I don't know a person on this board that hasn't gone out within their district and talked to somebody or within their ward. That sits a little heavy on me, and that's a little aggravating, because I know I, for one, have gone door to door or gone out to certain events with nothing to do with that event but to talk to people and find out what their input is. I think there's a lot of accusations and a lot of things that are being said on social media, and that is fine. Everybody has the right to speak. But we also allow this open meeting forum to be able to speak your mind or say what you believe. Any accusation that we do not listen to the city and we make choices, we would be voted out in a heartbeat. So I'm going to tell you that sits wrong with me, and it's a little aggravating. And that's just my personal opinion. I apologize.
No.
Well. Bills of ordinance. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 20-2020.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, second by Alderman Deloy.
An ordinance amending section 700.120 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri, establishing rates for sewer service within and outside the corporate limits of the city of Warrenton.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 20-2020.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, second by Alderman Crump.
An ordinance amending section 700.120 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri, establishing rates for sewer service within and outside the corporate limits of the city of Warrenton.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller.
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 21-2020.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, second by Alderman Schultz.
An ordinance amending section 705.210 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri, establishing rates for the use and consumption of water within and outside the corporate limits of the city of Warrenton.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 21-2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, second by Alderman Crump.
An ordinance amending section 705.210 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri, establishing rates for the use and consumption of water within and outside the corporate limits of the city of Warrenton.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy.
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 22-2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, second by Alderman Crump.
An ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between Agape Ministry and the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 22-2020, and I'll give you the first whack at it if you would like, since we kind of went with Alderman Crump when you said that.
I'm sorry. This mask, I think, affects my brain. I'm serious. So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Dyer, seconded by Alderman Deloy.
An ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between Agape Ministry and the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz.
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 23-2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Deloy, seconded by Alderman Dyer.
An ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between Warren County Council on Aging and the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 23-2020.
So moved.
Second.
Who'd you go with? Dyer. Motion by Alderman Crump, seconded by Alderman Dyer.
An ordinance authorizing execution of an agreement between Warren County Council on Aging and the city of Warrenton, Missouri.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Dyer,
Yes.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump.
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0. I'll entertain a motion for the first reading of bill number 24-2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alderman Miller, seconded by Alderman Crump.
An ordinance amending section 500 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri relating to the permitting of public festivals, events within the Main Street Overlay District.
I'll entertain a motion for the second reading and passage of bill number 24-2020.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Deloy.
An ordinance amending section 500 of the municipal code of the city of Warrenton, Missouri relating to the permitting of public festivals, events within the Main Street Overlay District.
Roll call vote.
Alderman Ock,
Yes.
Alderman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Deloy,
Yes.
Alderman Schultz,
Yes.
Alderman Crump,
Yes.
Alderman Dyer.
Yes.
Bill passes 6-0. I will entertain a motion to close the regular Board of Aldermen meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Alderman Schultz, seconded by Alderman Crump. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We are so adjourned.